Hey there, it's Chris Johnson, the CEO of Fedora. You're very welcome to this peek behind closing the emotional experience gap. So this is where I show you how we actually generated the insights. 7 passenger improvements that aims to reduce the revenue at risk posed by poor customer experience by 695 million. Well, let's start by looking at the fact that we've 20,000 reviews. With this here, you'll see that it'll give you all of those topics that we've been able to identify, everything from check-in attendees right through to the parking issues, right? The granularity of this is really impressive. Shuttle drivers, taxi, even the EV charging points in airports. Who knew that we'd need those? Of course, electrical cars being really important. So what we've been able to do is prioritize based on emotion. And then from that, we have inputted these key values. So this is where we've been able to improve the revenue at risk. So we've put a average customer spend in airports at $40. We haven't put in a cost to acquire. The actual how long the customers stay in years. So typically that's for 1 year, and then the total number of passengers for this report is several hundred million. We've picked a low risk probability model. You can see that if I was to change that, that would totally change the figures quite significantly. And again, if you're able to increase the value of customer spend, that would increase that as well. Now, once we have that input, this is where the magic happens, and where we've been able to identify what the key insights are. You can see how easy it is to actually change the actual report. So you can see this has generated those 7 decision ready insights. Those 7 insights were selected by the highest volume. So improving the dining options, restaurant variety, perception of price. You can see overhauling the staff interactions, reprioritizing the airport cleanliness, which people then perceive the quality of the experience relating to that, right through to parking and transport. So you can see how easy it is to identify what those themes are. So once you have those themes, we will then have the opportunity to identify the driver, the prioritized emotional index, the volume, the automatic SWOT analysis, and then the value at risk. With this, as you can see in the report, it'll give you the answer, a did you know, an implication, and then an actual customer story. So this is actually auto-generated. So you can see if I was to change this, it will generate a new insight, which is super helpful. It'll then give you a did you know. So it's actually telling you, the dining options account for 13% of passenger responses. It's driving quite a lot of apprehension. People are expressing frustration, particularly late at night, in terms of lack of options. We can then implicate the value, so we can see that this is showing a value at risk from a dollar perspective, and then you see the comments. So you can see I can actually go back in to all the commentary itself and be able to select 3 or 4 comments that best tell the story. So you can see that will then illustrate that. So essentially, that's where the 7 insights have come from, based on the higher volume, to understand that. But I also just want to very quickly show you that we can take the overall benchmark, and we can start to look at some additional elements that aren't in the report. So this is a bonus territory, where we can see there's an emotional experience gap with joy and trust. And you can see that if we're to compare Los Angeles versus Denver, that it's over indexing on anger. Now, the great thing is we can then compare like for like in terms of the core drivers. So you can see that Los Angeles has lower volume, but a higher intensity of emotions that's driving that as a weakness, versus Denver, that has a higher volume, people talking about the dining options, but more positively. So we can look at it from that perspective as well. Interestingly, we can then take a benchmark approach to the emotional signature of the experience. So you can see the particular activations of the emotion. We can then take a more strategic view of the data. So you can see that we can start to map out what are the particular weaknesses of this airport. We can overlay that with a kind of verbatim perspective to kind of illustrate what that is. And we can then start to map out a broader strategic view of the experience as well. Similarly, we can then look at it from a volume perspective, but also emotional intensity. So you can see in this example here that staff interactions has the highest negative emotional intensity versus, for example, security experience, which has a higher volume but less emotional intensity. So you can kind of see how that varies for airports. So obviously, Los Angeles, the back checks on the security are more important. So that's just to give you an idea. 7 decision-ready insights automatically generated from the commentary, which we've seen collected over 20,000 reviews, multiple languages, all analyzed, packaged together in a decision-ready insight report. I hope you've enjoyed checking out the research and look forward to speaking to you in the weeks and days ahead. Thanks again now. Bye-bye.